Hello there.
It's showtime.
Did I do that?
I'm Sailor Moon, the champion of justice.
The power is yours. Thunder, 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 thundercats.
Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
Showtime synergy.
Welcome, Radical Ones. It is officially 1 year of the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. It is I, Ryan Hunter, along with the man, the myth, the legend that started it off with me September 25th of last year, Rob, the movie geek himself.
I cannot believe it has been a year. That is so crazy.
Why does it feel like we've been working together for 5 years? And in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like it's so crazy that it's been a year.
I know, so crazy. 1 year since you started this. That's funny. You don't even feel that different, do you? Like, does it feel like a year?
Not at all. Does it feel like a year? I mean, we did lose a whole year, kind of. But even that, it doesn't feel like...
No, that's crazy. But yeah, I remember the first episode very vividly, and I just can't believe it was a year ago.
I remember it vividly as well, Rob, and Radical Ones, because I had a microphone. This will haunt me for forever. The first episode is unaudible to me, basically. Rob tried to fix it. I tried to do something, but my microphone was turned up all the way to the highest setting. Plus, everyone knows I get loud when I talk to begin with. So it was basically like this. And I can't believe we're here almost by 40 episodes, Rob, and people are still listening and growing, which is wonderful.
Yes, no, I think that's great. Most podcasts will start off with very horrible audio. No matter how often they've done it, they are still working with somebody new or something new or whatever, and it won't sound like it's supposed to that first time. So, I mean, if you listen to my first episode like 3-4 years ago that I did, it doesn't sound anything like it does today. So yeah, that happens, and I think people most likely will give you the benefit of the doubt during your first few episodes, because it's all about the content, you know, as long as you're coherent and that you are working towards fixing the audio and making it better. I think people will give you a break.
Beautifully said, and I was horrified. As a matter of fact, I cannot listen to that. I actually put it on because I'll get to it in a second, but Rob's been re-listening to older episodes, but I put it on maybe a week ago just to hear if it was as bad as it was. And I don't know if it's because of the earphones I was using. Rob, it sounded terrible. You sounded great, and I sounded like tiny inches. But here we are. Okay, so to begin with, on that first episode, Rob took a chance and literally came to be my co-host, and his show, Brunch with the Hollowells, I'm so sorry, I've said this story so many times, but Brunch with the Hollowells, as well as Movie Geek and Proud, his co-host Sean at the time of the start, the two of them and their podcast for Charmed and their enthusiasm, and then getting to know Rob, I was so inspired to actually do this. And when he took the chance and the time to do something with me, it truly meant so much. And now we're a year later, and not only are we doing the Radical Retro Rewind podcast, but we're doing Brunch with the Hollowells together. So it's crazy. It's very crazy. But I thank Rob so much for his efforts.
No, of course. I mean, you share the same love of pop culture, and we're from the same generation, and so it just made sense for you to do something like this. And I could tell that you were very passionate about your idea, and I, still a little unsure as to where you wanted to take the show.
I'm
Still,
still unsure.
but I but I can definitely appreciate sort of like your enthusiasm and sort of the content that you wanted to do, because especially on the subject of the things that we've talked about so far, like your energy level just goes up, and that's what is projected when you do a podcast. So of course, you should definitely do something that you're proud of. And so you came up with the idea to start with Tiny Toons, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be the best freaking podcast ever," because who else is going to review something like that, especially for their first launched episode? I think that's so cool of you to do
Oh,
that, for it to be like
or
summer
crazy,
themed
or
and everything.
crazy.
Hey, it worked for me. I enjoyed having to go back and watch, because I would have never watched that little movie ever unless I was in an opportunity like this. So that's the whole point of this podcast, is just to kind of remind you of all of this yesteryear stuff that we grew up with, and you're reminding us all of all that. So yeah, definitely, of course I was going to help.
Thank you so much for that. And I will say, I feel like we have been picking different topics. I think that's what we wanted to do as well. We didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, retro, because there's so many retro people out there that are amazing doing similar things. But like us with Mannequin too, it wasn't Mannequin. Like, I like that we do random things like that, and like Double Double Toil and Trouble, and
Yeah, we just I think for me, I wanted to do titles that, for one, I haven't seen anybody else review, but again, people love this stuff. They just don't think about it as much as the popular stuff. And like, I would hope so, there's a fan base out there that at least remembers a little bit like this, but if anything, relive some of the stuff that you didn't get to experience back in the day through us, because we'll watch it for you. We'll tell you about it, so you don't have to go back and watch it yourself. But who doesn't remember all of those Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen stuff that they did? And yeah, we had to. And so definitely look out what we're going to do for October. Oh my God, you want to talk about back in the day, like spooky Halloween stuff? You thought Mary Kate was something like,
oh
yeah.
my god, that is exciting. That's a great teaser for the new season that starts Friday, October 1st. So Rob has been going back a little, and when he has free time, and he listens to some of the older episodes. So how terrifying, or Feruza Bulk.
Yes.
Bulk.
Yes, that's correct. No, you did that right this time. No, like, I decided to kind of go back and just listen to most of the episodes that we've done together, including ones you've done with David, and just to kind of remember where you started from and where you're at now. And what I noticed is that, for the most part, if we did mention sort of a plan or like a future episode, any kind of idea that sparked within our conversation, we followed through. Like, within like 2 or 3 episodes, we were like, "Oh, we should totally do this movie." Bam, guess what episode we're doing next? Like, we followed through on each and every like idea that we wanted to do, which means we're very persistent and transparent. So, I mean, that's what you can expect from this podcast, is just we follow through exactly with what we want to do.
And then,
so,
wasn't it even up to like It Takes Two versus The Parent Trap you had mentioned? I'm like, oh yeah, and we did do that.
We talked about, oh, we should totally review that, and we went ahead and did it and created this whole entire like summer project based around it. So yeah, no, I mean, the sound definitely went up and down, or whatever with that. But that also shows like you're self-taught, you're learning all of this on your own. And I want to say that you've gotten better with your sound quality and the content that you're providing, and the relationship that you've created with David on the show too, I think is awesome, because like your dynamic and chemistry together, I think Who doesn't want to listen to, two people who know each other very well have a lot of fun? And so listening to like I told you, the episodes that I wasn't on, like I said, it was your second episode. It was Gem.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I had never seen a lick of Gem. I don't remember Gem at all, but listening to your conversation, you made it fun, but you also made it interesting to be like, damn, do I want to go to Amazon and buy the whole series so I can watch it for myself? But even if I don't, you talked about it enough for people to be like, okay, I think I've gotten what I needed from Gem because of their conversation. But you're not going to find any other podcast that's going to do stuff like that, So I think that's one good thing that you've done with your show is again just the reminder of all the things that we used to watch, and we didn't really have the mind capacity to understand what we were watching. So it's like, wow, we're watching this now as adults and it's still good. When you're younger, it's like, oh, look at the pretty colors, and now it's like, oh, they were talking about some real shit.
Yeah, damn,
Yeah.
amen.
But
And
having me being able to like express my progression with one of my favorite shows of all times, Family Manners, like talking about that with you has been very therapeutic, because I don't get to express my thoughts and opinions about that show, let alone what it did for my childhood and what it was like to actually finish the season. I mean, the series after so many years later. And then having to talk about it with you, like, that was really good for me. I really enjoyed being able to express myself with that, because that was a show that I definitely grew up on. But a lot of people may not understand what a show like that can do for an individual versus, whatever show that they've watched when they grew up. So that has been really cool to be able to do that on this podcast, because I couldn't do it on mine. I mean, I could, but this is more of the thematic podcast environment that would call for something like this. I have a movie podcast. We don't talk about TV, let alone past TV. I got to review Afraid of the Dark. I mean, are you kidding me?
That is, and oh my god, and you did a whole thing with, Rob has many podcasts, by the way. He also is on another horror-themed podcast with his friend Nate called Bitch I Ain't Scared, Fear Bias. But he and Nate had an original conversation with another guest over Are You Afraid of the Dark? And he did so amazing on that. And then just hearing that before we recorded, you just know so much about that series, and you could just show how much you love it. And then just going back to the Family Matters video on YouTube, that video is
still
exploded.
blowing up. Yeah, it's getting
People
so many
loved.
comments.
They love to hear what you said, and these people pour their heart out. They're writing paragraphs. I've never seen so many people that are so passionate about reliving it and what you said in paragraphs. So amazing. You have a favorite episode that we did by any chance?
Oh man, no, Mannequin 2 actually was a lot of fun. It really was. No, that episode was a lot of fun to talk about, because our love for a specific character on there can just go into, like, we can create a podcast just on that alone. But no, I think our love for that character and just the fact that this movie is so niche, that the fact that we both enjoy it so much, I think is what made it more, fun to talk about. So I had a really good time with that one.
That's my favorite with us, because I remember we were laughing the whole entire time. That and Crush was a highlight, because we just laughed and laughed. It was incredible.
Yeah. I think another good episode is Blank Man, because how it may sort of benefit me as a kid watching something like that on TV. You who may not fit under that specific culture can still understand the impact it has on a black kid. So it was great to have somebody from a different background kind of understand where I'm coming from. So it was really nice to be able to talk about it, even though the movie is super silly and probably
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I still say that is so underrated. We said it on there, but how can you not like Blank Man?
But that's what's also good about this show, because you have also been willing to watch things that you haven't before,
Yes.
which can be sometimes uncommon in certain podcasts, that they just kind of want to review things that they already know, so they can have more of a emotional impact on it and talk about it with depth. But you're, like, you take chances in reviewing stuff that nobody else would, or reviewing things that you haven't seen before. You're very open as a host to take on other people's ideas, whether they come from me or David, and just be like, let's go for it, let's do it, why not? So I think that's cool. But like, you are also accomplishing a lot of things that I was unable to do as a solo podcaster, which is create your own YouTube channel. You've got tons of video content, and you're able to like talk to the camera without somebody there. I can't do that. That's a skill that I just have not perfected.
I think you
yet.
can. It's just like maybe you think too much about it, because you have the knowledge and you have the voice.
No, I think about it too much. No, it's just I project better with my ideas when I'm talking with somebody. But you've been able to do all of this like video content on your own. People usually open up, like pulp culture boxes when they receive them. No, you're just going through your basement and creating a whole entire segment off of that, which I think is cool. You're taking risks by eating expired products.
Oh, Jessica Simpson. God, we love our Jessica.
But it's also your love for other people and getting them involved and incorporated into your show with your giveaways and your merchandise, and like you're actually going for it, and you're creating your own brand, and I think that's so cool. And you've only been at this for a year, so I think that if you keep it up, like, you can, the only direction is up, sir. I mean, seriously, I think you should be proud of what you've done.
You got me choked up. Oh, thank you. That was, my God, thank you. Well, I wouldn't be able to do it without Rob and David as well. He's not here today. Well, he's still with us. God, but he's not here today currently with this. But it has been amazing to get to reconnect with movies and stuff with David from our childhood and get to discuss them again, and getting to do Thundercats with David, and having Rob actually watch Thundercats, which is a highlight for me. He'll watch and
yeah.
us.
I'm actually watching the series for the first time and then listening to the show in connection with the series. So
there is a word for that, but as anyone who watches the show and listens to it knows, I can't speak English. And when I do, it's with a strong accent from New York.
So good. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying the series so far, and your podcast is helping fill in the blanks of some of the underlining meanings and messages that they have to it. So no, that's been a joy. And I think a lot of people like your Thundercats sort of
it's like a separate entity, right?
They just want you to do more. That's the thing.
God, if anyone doesn't know what it takes to put through a podcast, that's why when Rob has four. He's got 4. I don't know how he does it, or anyone else who has multiple podcasts, because there's a lot of work. If we could do more, I would be cranking out Thundercats, but there's only so much editing and recording you could do, and content and notes. Not that we're complaining, or I'm complaining. So I should also thank all of the radical ones as well that have come along. Like, Jeanette has been one of our earliest, really. I think she came on episode 2 and she has been a blessing to have, because she was the first ones to comment and contribute and things like that. And we've had wonderful guests like our friend Cadu from Brazil, Sean on an X-Men podcast. We've also had John on our Scream episode, Anthony on one of our camp Crystal Lake escapades, Friday the 13th part 3, and most recently Jeff from the GCAP recap channel. I couldn't thank everyone enough, everyone who watches, everyone who listens to us every Friday. And Rob, as I always like to end, where can the lovely people find you?
Currently in season 7 of 8 seasons of the original Charm series, Ryan and I are recapping each episode one by one. And we are currently in season 7. So that is Brunch with the Hollowells, because if you are gay, you love Charm, but you also love brunch. So you can catch new episodes every Sunday during brunch time. Also, Movie Geek Proud, which is just a general movie, a podcast. Right now, I am doing a lot of my favorite movies that I used to watch as a kid and just sort of reviewing those, seeing if they hold up, reviewing certain films from my collection. And that is Movie Geek and Proud, all one word on Instagram, and then MGNP Podcast on Twitter.
I love it. And as always, you can reach the Radical Retro Rewind Podcast, all one word, on Instagram. We are back Friday, October 1st for a full packed month of October. My goodness. So thank you, Rob, for doing this. Thank you, everyone.
To
David.
another year.
Another year of laughs, and we hope we could distract you from this crazy world. Thank you again, Radical Ones, and we'll be back next month with all new episodes. Bye-bye.